Hello, everybody. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. This is Andy the Gabby Cabby for the second live stream of the day. This is a rarity doing too. I appreciate everybody that joined me earlier this afternoon. My apologies to all of our American friends that missed out. It was really for the sake of the British audiences, because what I wanted to talk about really was a subject that was relevant in British law. And I hope I came across and imparted all the information that I attempted to do. And I hope some of you that might have been in that situation found it useful. Let's start off, shall we? First of all, by going through and saying hello to some people. Jodie Pitt, hello to you. Glad you finally had a shave, Scruff. Now listen here, Christine Ayres. I take great pleasure in my scruffy look. I look like a typical dreary-eyed taxi driver that hasn't slept in 20 years or knows what a razor is. But me and my son were due our full weekly groom today, and I thought I'd have a shave just for the hell of it. So thank you very much for that one. Much appreciated. Hello, Jane Griffiths. Good to see you. Good evening, Andy, everyone in the Gabby community. Kim Alliston, hello to you. Hello, Alan Pape, second time today. I saw you about earlier. John Harris. Yes, I have had a haircut. People have noticed. I'm not so much of a scruffy bastard as I was yesterday. Earlier was good. Thank you, Andy. That's great, Bridget. Good to hear. I've got another one coming up. Again, when I get the computer and the PC to myself, it will, I get more functionality on there where I can screen share and all sorts of things. Of course, outside here, I'm on my mobile phone, and I've only got a tiny little screen to piddle about in and do what I can. Hello, Cosmic Warto, Julie Baldwin as well. Yes, I will come to what you're talking about very shortly. Tanner Family Memories, John Harrington, Healing Vibrations, Julie Keys. Looks like all the regulars are here. That's wonderful, and it's good to see everybody. Yes, I've tried a little bit of an experiment this evening, and the simple experiment is I'm not on Facebook, just for this evening. You see, I'm trying to get to the bottom of what's causing the sound to be shit. What I'm starting with is bandwidth right now in this little experiment this evening. I've turned the Facebook feed off, and we're just on YouTube this evening. So if anybody watches on Facebook, usually come over to YouTube, and we will be here. Now, what I want to know from people, if you could give me a 1 in the chat if the sound is okay, give me a 2 in the chat if it's crap or shit, as I said earlier. It's not so good now. Thanks, I'm not too bad. Okay. Yeah, I've been looking into Jane saying the sounds crap, Melvin okay, Christine okay, and Perry okay, Lorna okay, Bridget and Trisha are both saying 2, Alan 1.5, it's okay, but an echo, Diddy and Ringo 2. So I'm getting a bit of a mixed bag again. Now, one of the things I want to try, I mean, these things I've got in at the moment are Galaxy earbuds, and I've even tried yours. Seems a bit more bassy, fine for me. Okay. Tin, very echoey. Okay. Yeah, I've also tried the actual built-in microphone within my phone, and I think that's even worse. Now, I've been looking at noise-cancelling earpieces because I think it's picking up on my environment where I am. I'm in quite a large space in the car, and I get the feeling this software is probably a little bit more susceptible to what's going on around than little 10-1. Yeah, absolutely, Jodie. I think we're a little bit more susceptible in here to echo and the space and everything else. And there are some noise cancelling microphones and earphones you can get. And I'm going to look at investing in one of those because the actual native YouTube live stream stuff is okay. The sound's okay, but the problem is you can't do anything with it. You can't have the overlays and all the other gubbins and everything else. So I'm going to invest in something like that. Uh, you need to get a professional microphone, Andy, and maybe if you can afford it, a £1,500 Panasonic Lumix camera like my friend Josh uses, but he's a millionaire. So to be expected. I'm not there yet, Christine Ayres, but thank you very much. I'm friends with a couple of channels in the US, Duty Run and Police Off the Cuff, and I know both of them use StreamYard to quite good effect. So I'm going to email them this evening and see if I can rack their brains and see what they use to get round this, because everything else seems okay. It's literally just the sound is letting it down, and I don't like that. I want to come across clean and clean and crisp for everybody. And I'll have to 10-4 message received. Okay, I'll have to probably invest in something tomorrow, but I'll look at that. Why don't they use noise cancelling for Biden speeches? I love that stink food, so that's brilliant. Might check them out. Okay, where else have we got? Andy the Gabby Cabby, the Josh I mentioned, is exploring with Josh. Each of his videos has like 1 million views. It's taken him 10 years of hard work to get big on YouTube. That's a very valid point right there, isn't it, Christine? You do have to plug away, and you get some disappointments. You do, but then it all comes together in the end, and you start getting some success. I've noticed over the last 3 or 4 days, a lot of my videos are getting in 4 figures quite consistently, and it's not done that so far. And I do wonder whether we're at the tipping point, where things might start going a bit loopy. We will have to see. I was watching Duty Run. The lady has gone off with the animal. Must have really charmed her. Yeah, that's a bit concerning, that one, Kim Allister. I saw that in the news the other day, but I don't know enough to, comment properly on it or go down that line. As long as we can hear you, no problems, Anne Irving says. I appreciate that, Anne, but the perfectionist in me wants to, get it sorted properly, and I will do. Have you seen Sleepy Joe's latest gaff? Let's go, Batman. I did see you message something about that earlier, Alan. I haven't checked it out yet, but believe you me, I will. I like a good gaff from Sleepy Joe. Well, I want to show you something. Not about Sleepy Joe, actually, about Andy's Army. What we've had people in the chat talking about getting Andy's Army on a t-shirt. And good idea. We can have people like that walking around with Andy's Army. And Julie Baldwin has very kindly taken time out of her day and sent me a load of designs over. You can actually go on Facebook and have a look at these and see for yourself, but they're bloody wonderful. Matt Wooten, hello to you. Jerry Georgiopoulos, hello to you. And Kevin as well. I've never heard a problem with your sound, but definitely on interference tonight. Yeah, it could be bandwidth, it could be anything, but I tend to think it's these things, really, but I'm definitely going to try and look into it. But yeah, look at these things that Julie's done. Where are we? I've got to try and improvise a screen thing here. That's the first one. Like and subscribe. That's another one. I like that one. Blue's my favourite colour. That one's cool as well. Andy's Army. Come and chat with a Gabby Cabby. And another one. All brilliant designs there. Andy's Army again. And these are, I suppose you could call them prototypes, couldn't you? That one as well. And then we got that one. And I think that's it, because it ain't scrolling any further. Those are all wonderful t-shirts, all done by Julie Baldwin. She designed them all and sent them over to me. She even did a beanie cap as well, and I thought that was absolutely superb. Have a look through those. If you're on Facebook, go check them out on there. If you're not, replay this live stream and let me know what you think. And we'll see if we can get a few of those kicking about. And, you know, that'll be wonderful. Give everybody a little bit of a novelty T-shirt. I mean, I did the original ones myself, and I'm no artist. I literally just went boom, bang, splat, Andy the Gabby Cabby in town. The last T-shirt was nice. Which one was that, John Harris? Let me have a look. The big list of them. Okay, I'm with you. I've got you. Right. This is the Daily Chat with Andy the Gabby Cabby, everybody. Welcome, one and all, this evening. And thank you very much for joining me. Don't forget, if you haven't done so already, please hit the like button on the live stream so we get the old algorithm tickled and get it up and running there. Appreciate that. Also, if you're new to the Gabby Cabby channel, please make sure you subscribe to us as well and get the numbers ticking up even more than they are already. If you're on social media, and I've mentioned that, you can find these T-shirts. I put them on Facebook and Twitter. I tried putting them on Instagram, but it got the hump. You can follow us over there as well. And if we can get a load of people commenting on their favourite, I'll see if I can get them actually printed out. I'm already signed up to a merch thing where we can do that, and I'm sure they'll look pretty cool on the normal T-shirt. So let's have a quick look at what everybody else is saying, and then we'll get back to the news. I think that's what's happened. Pictures of matchstick men. Then Andy, order me 2 black, 2 white, small Trevor Fuller. Okay, there you go. I've got 2 sold already. Alan Pape, laugh out loud. Hi, Lorna. How long do you think the cab driver will be around then before Johnny Cab? I have no idea, Melvin. No idea. Honesty and truth, evening all. Got a poorly dog. He seems to be suffering from hay fever. Rather a worry. That's a shame, honesty and truth. It's not one of them blooming grass seed things stuck up their nose or something, is it? Or is it just the old hay fever? Coconut rum in Aldi for €22. Oh, I've just seen an e-scooter fly past me. I'm glad I'm in here out the way. Kim Alliston, Lorna meant the criminal must have really charmed her trying to cook dinner and join in the chat. So that's all right. You can multitask. And now I hope dinner's good. Your hair's looking trim, Andy. Matt Wooten. Yeah, we went today, and my usual hairdresser lost her clippers. You couldn't find them anywhere, and I nearly ended up with a bloody cut all over. I said, "Take it off." Look. The only problem is I'm getting a few grey bits. I think that's a sign of distinguishment and age, and it's starting to creep in just a tad. Greetings to Alan Pape and the Chester Massive. That's Spider Log. I love it. Jodie Pitt's got eyes like a hawk. Loving the T-shirts. Shut that door on a shirt. Oh, yeah, that's got to be done, hasn't it? Got to be done. Last T-shirt was nice. Okay, I think we caught up. Hello, Trevor Fuller, by the way. I see you in the chat and hope you are well. Andy, I spy with my little eye phone. I like that one. Don't mention e-scooters. I won't. I faithfully swear I will not mention e-scooters. See the little sign I do there? Yes, I can do it with both. I think we've got new Star Trek coming out in the next couple of days. See what that's like. We'll look at the 5th filth in here. Sign of acquired wisdom, Andy the Gabby Cabby. Yes, maybe it will be. Maybe it will be. You know, I did this live stream earlier on. Why I'm a good artist, Andy. Yes, you are a good artist, Jodie. Very much so. I see the lawnmower one. It did, Uncle Gary. And hello, by the way. Yeah, I did this live stream earlier today about credit card debts. Basically, if it gets sold on to a debt collector, how do you deal with it? And then if you fail there, how do you proceed with it to court to get yourself out of it? And it's all about burden of proof and trying to maintain control of your own finances as much as you possibly can. Now, one of the other big issues I have is what's going on with our gas and electricity at the moment. You can see that things are getting out of control. I actually said to my wife 2 weeks ago, we ain't going to be able to afford our gas and electricity. Not worth worrying about. I shall just give them as much as I can, when I can, and how I can. And that is, the tack I'm taking. I do not have a direct debit set up with the electricity company, nor do I wish to have one. I will make them a card payment as and when I can. Now, the reason they want direct debit set up is because they have control over your money and you don't. And I wouldn't recommend anybody having one in the current climate we live in. Now, to back up what I said, I found an interesting article, today in the old Daily Rag, and I shall find this for you now. Let's have a look. Yes, energy firms face deadline in review of direct debit hikes. So as soon as the price cap gets fucked, we all get fucked. They put it all up really massively. And, they've got to justify these rises somehow. I mean, some energy suppliers have been given a 3-week deadline to explain accusations they have increased customers' direct debits by more than is necessary. Corporate bloody greed and profit, that's what it is. Jonathan Brearley, boss of the energy regulator Ofgem, recently said there were troubling signs of this tactic being used. He also expressed concern over customers being directed to inappropriate deals. Well, that's in breach of Ofcom regulation straight away because they have a legal obligation. Hi, Tippy Tappy Man, good to see you. They have a legal obligation to offer you the most cost-effective tariff they can get you on. And it sounds like now they're playing stupid bastards. Official reviews have now been launched into these practices. Mr. Brearley had said in April that reviews were imminent, but the development emerged from updates published on Twitter by Business Secretary Kwasi Kwarteng, where he said some energy suppliers have been increasing direct debits beyond what is required. I can confirm Ofgem has today issued compliance reviews. Suppliers have 3 weeks to respond to this. The regulator will not hesitate to swiftly enforce compliance, including issuing substantial fines. Well, that's all well and good, Kwasi Kwarteng, Mr. Business Secretary, but at the end of the day, who's got control of our money while all this bureaucratic shit is going on? We don't, you do. It's unacceptable and it needs to stop. And as Anna Perkins has just said, I think along the lines of what I was saying, never go down the direct debit route for payments. If you must pay a specific amount, do a standing order for the amount you wish to budget. I totally and utterly 200% agree with you, Anna. And the other tactic they're taking sometimes, they're a little bit coy about what their bank account sort name and account number is because they want you paying their way, direct debit. So if standing order doesn't work, then do a card payment. And these bastards won't have control over your money. It's about trying to pull as much control over that situation back as you possibly can. Mr. Kwarteng said that some energy companies have been increasing direct debits beyond what's required. Can confirm Ofgem has totally issued compliance reviews. Mr. Kwarteng's tweet went on. The regulator will not hesitate to swiftly enforce compliance, including issuing substantial fines. Okay, so when are the customers going to get compensated for being driven into abject poverty? That's what I want to know. However, by reviewing the issue, Ofgem has yet to draw a firm conclusion on whether any rules have been broken. An Ofgem spokesman said, our top priority is to protect customers, and we recently wrote to suppliers to alert them that we're commissioning a series of market compliance reviews to ensure, amongst other things, that they are handling direct debits fairly, and overall they're held to higher standards for performance on customer service and protecting vulnerable customers most of all. This is all a crock of shit, and it's full of statistics. I mean, here's one for you here. The energy price cap has risen by nearly 700 quid. There you go. There's the graph right there. So you can see how much of a difference that's made over the last few years. And while they're, swallowing themselves in a bureaucratic mire of bullshit, we are the ones that are suffering. Ofgem, I don't believe a word of it. I don't believe their independence, their impartiality, or their non-bias. And it's the same as any other, organisation that's there to, try and manage and contain what's going on. On the 1st of April, yearly bills increased by an average of nearly £700 for about 18 million households on a standard tariff, and some 4.5 million prepayment customers saw an average increase of £708. I have a friend, right? His situation financially is crap, but for reasons other than what's going on. But more often than not, I'm having to give him, a score at the end of every month before his next assessment period to keep the bloody lights on. In this day and age, why are people living like that? It's absolutely crazy. Right, let's have a look at the chats. That's my little rant about the old powers that be, what's going on there. And then we'll move on to the next thing in a minute. Julie Baldwin, I saw that. You've sent me a design that says, "Shut that door." I love it. We'll get that online as well. I have British Gas to the Ombudsman and got awarded 150 quid because they messed around with my direct debit. That's Andrew. How much were you out of pocket by them messing around with your direct debit, Andrew? And how long did this take for them to sort out? Those are two very valid questions. Breaking news, Denmark stops the shot after showing no reduction. Well, yes, what can we say to that? Same as everywhere else. Shut that door design sent, thank you. What are you agreeing with Mick Hardstaff for? Gary Reynolds. I've still got a prepayment meter. I've noticed it doesn't last as long now, but I don't pay a weekly fee. I probably pay more per unit, but I don't get into debt to them. That's Matt Wooten. I used to have a prepayment meter years ago when I lived in my old flat, but I kept bloody forgetting to top the thing up. I'd be sitting there and the lights would go out. History repeating itself. My nan used to do that as well many years before. Tony Whitworth, public sector bad, foreign public sector good. The UK government outsourcing and offshoring nuclear power plant construction to South Korea. What could possibly go wrong? Every bloody thing. That's what could possibly go wrong. Bob Hollyoak, yes. Ukraine and Russia just a smokescreen. Exactly. Thank you, MJK Info. I appreciate your kind comment there. Was that with Susanna Reid, McCard staff? Yes, I think I know what you're referring to there. What's the difference between a direct debit and a standing order in layman's terms, Andrew asks. A direct debit is set up by the company you owe money to. They control the amount, they control the date and everything else about it. A standing order is something that you set up yourself with your bank to send the money to them rather than them take it to you. And the control is you can cancel it. I mean, you could cancel a direct debit as well, but some claim they can just reset it up again once they've got your authorization. I've never seen that happen to me or anyone I know, but apparently it is so. Really, but you can cancel a direct debit. Where's this other thing? What's Gary saying? Gary, did you see the interview with Boris this morning? What a titch. Yes, I'm about to talk about that one. Don't you worry about that. Never go down the direct debit route. Always do standing order. As I said, Anna, I agree with you completely. Andrew, been waiting for you to respond to Andy's question. How did they mess your direct debit about? If they stole, how much did they steal? Yes, Andrew. You know, how much did they take off you? How big a mess about was it? And how long did you have to wait for it to all be sorted out? That's, you know, that's what I would like to know. Uh, where I was stink pooter, a utility company took out for more indirect debit leads to my account being in deficit. This led to me being penalised by Santander Bank for unauthorised. This is the other thing. You know, the gas and electricity companies will take out more than their entitlement. And if you've left the money in there to budget for your bill and they take out, I don't know, 10, 20, 30, 40 quid more than you think, the bank will levy a charge on you. So it's a vicious cycle of shite. Yet again, it's terrible. Yeah, where are we going? High current comment. Smart meters. What's that about smart meters? Smart meters do pay as you go, but companies don't want the consumer to know about it. On my electric company, there's a sliding scale, and I can say what I want to pay. No wonder they don't want you to know about it. That's very valid. 100% scam, Melvin P. I set up my direct debit. They didn't take it. Then they wanted to take 3 times more. I wasn't out of pocket, but 150 quid was welcomed. So they couldn't organise their own house, in other words, by the sound of it. I mean, you know, that happens, doesn't it? Let's get a bit of light on the subject and get into shut that door territory. Out like that. Bang. That one on, that one on. Okay, because we're starting to lose the light a little bit. Listen, folks, this is Andy the Gabby Cabby's daily chat. We do this every day. This is the second one of the day, actually. I did something else a little bit different earlier. Don't forget, everybody, please hit that like button on the live stream if you haven't done so already, and also consider subscribing to Andy the Gabby Cabby too if you haven't done so. We're not on Facebook tonight. I just wanted to eliminate that just for this evening because I was trying to get to the bottom of what's going on with the sound, but usually we will be on Facebook as well and try and expand our reach a little bit more when I get this out. I think the problem I have is the earpieces, and indoors this afternoon I was on a webcam with a microphone in Logitech, and not a bad webcam, but obviously not up to the task of this live streaming as it should be. But I'm going to invest in a decent pair of noise cancelling bits and pieces. Now, my uncle mentioned it earlier, and I found a little article on it here. Boris Johnson being a tit, which yes, wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. And he is, of course, referring to that interview with Susanna Reid, bless her cotton socks, on GM Break TV, blah, 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 Piers Morgan's ex-job, where he decided to dive in a fridge the first time and didn't want to come out to play. Well, he's finally gone on there and decided to be interviewed. Boris gloats about free bus passes after hearing pensioner rides them all day to keep warm. That's fucking disgusting. You know, when I used to work on the circuit on town, I used to go to the hospitals a lot, you know, taking patients to and from, that sort of thing. One of the things we had, there used to be this lady that used to hover around all of the hospitals because she couldn't afford to bath and she couldn't afford the gas or electricity, and basically couldn't afford to keep warm. She's probably brown bread by now because this was many years ago. But the thing is, it was disgraceful. She was using the power and utilities of other companies, namely hospitals and doctors and all this sort of thing, to keep herself warm and healthy. And, you know, this problem's obviously existed back then with the pensioners. But let's see what our dear illustrious leader, Boris Johnson, has to say about the subject. Where are we? Boris Johnson has been slammed as tone deaf for gloating about introducing free bus passes for pensioners in response to a question about the cost of living crisis. Yeah, I mean, what the fucking hell has a free bus pass got to do with, you know, heating your home? The Prime Minister has appeared on Good Morning Britain for the first time in 5 years after infamously hiding in a fridge to avoid an interview in the lead up to the last general election. I think it was hiding from that nice Mr. Morgan. Host Susanna Reid said she'd had an email from 77-year-old pensioner Elsie, whose energy bills have risen from £17 a month to, get this, £85 a month. This is the level of the increase that we're all suffering. So it's basically costing her an extra £800 a year. Susanna said to cut down on spending, Elsie has resorted to eating one meal a day. She's losing weight. She's 77 years old. She needs to be warm and she needs to eat more than one meal a day. This is completely unacceptable. If anybody knows any way of helping Elsie, if anybody comes across this that knows Elsie and knows anything or anyone that can help her, get involved. You know, this, we can't have this kind of thing with our older generation. They deserve more than this. She goes to the supermarket at the end of the day to buy yellow sticker discounted items. She gets up early in the morning to use her Freedom Bus Pass. What the hell kind of name is that? To stay on buses all day to avoid using energy at home. What else should Elsie cut back on? I don't sit on transport, I drive transport. And while it's all right to get out and see the sights and everything, even just sitting on public transport can be very, very, very draining. And, you know, for a 77-year-old woman, this is just unacceptable. I mean, Christ, if somebody knows Elsie, send her to me and I'll buy her a bag of bloody shopping to get her out of the shit. And I mean that completely. Just somebody email me, just something, and I will, you know, buy her a bag of bloody groceries. I can't pay her electricity bill, but I can't have this eating one meal a day at that age, nearly 80 years old. Jesus Christ. The Prime Minister responded to say it was he who introduced the Freedom Pass that allows people in London over 60 to travel on buses for free. I don't give two fucks, Boris, whether it's free or not. The fact is, this woman deserves the right to be in her own home, and she deserves the right to be warm in her own home with food on the table. You know, how many other Elsies are there out there? This is disgraceful. And there's a load of tweets here where people are basically agreeing what a tone-deaf pilchard he is. And yet he's saying Ukraine will be free. You know, he seems more worried about what's going on over there than his own people. The answer left many viewers reeling, not least because he didn't introduce the scheme. The Freedom Pass has existed in some form since 1973. Mr. Johnson reinstated it as Mayor of London in 2012, but it's not valid for 24 hours on weekdays when it's only accepted from 9:30 a.m. Mr. Johnson took credit for the free bus passes minutes after insisting he was an honest leader when asked about his record on truth-telling following the Partygate scandal. Susan replied, "Oh, marvellous, so Elsie should be grateful to you for her bus pass," before pressing the PM on what else she should cut back on so she can afford to live. Mr. Johnson said he did not want Elsie to cut back on anything and said she would be helped by the government's £150 council tax rebate. Oh, isn't this wonderful? Well, somebody in Elsie's situation, by the sound of it, particularly if she's on her own, should be getting pension credit, should be getting other benefits, which will reduce her council tax liability down to next to nothing anyway. What the actual fuck is this guy on about? And as my uncle said, he's been made to look like a total and utter tit. Labour politicians branded Mr. Johnson out of touch and tone deaf. I happen to agree with them on this occasion. I don't often agree with Labour, but apparently they may have a point on this occasion. The mind boggles. How can he sit there and say that? I think the best thing he could have done, especially, you know, after what happened last time, is go and hide back in that fridge where he came and freeze to death like poor Elsie. I don't know if anybody else is in a position where they know an older person that's in a situation, a vulnerable person that's in a situation where they could run out of their gas, their electricity, their food. Help them. Get on the phone, say, hello, are you okay? Doesn't matter whether it's a friend, a brother, a sister, uh, anybody. If they need help, then please, you know, try and give them a hand. That's my rant. I mean, you know, Boris got stitched up like a kipper. I believe that Good Morning Britain is so lefty, it makes the lefties look normal. But that being said, he should have, not put himself in a position where he was going to look as daft as he did. And it just proves without a shadow of a doubt what the Tories are all about. Give a little bit and take loads back in return. And we're not in that day and age anymore. There's genuine people out there that need the help, they need the assistance, and it just isn't there. Like politicians before him seems to be more worried about everything else that's going on out in the country. It's absolutely mad. Now, I've got another story about somebody in a minute, something about an elderly man that's not too well. But I'm going to go back through the chat again and see what people have got to say about that shenanigans. How Boris trussed up like a Christmas turkey next to Big Ben, then he'll be totally Mutton Jeff. Yeah, that'd do. I think he's Mutton Jeff anyway. More suicides to come then. You could have a point there, Mick Hardstaff. People will just get driven to it. I'm struggling, but I'm muddling through and keeping going for now. That's Bridget. I mean, Bridget is a prime example of somebody that probably, is limited to what they can do about this situation. I don't know Bridget personally, but I know and have garnered enough over her involvement in the chats and a little bit of homework I've done to know that she's one that would find some of this difficult. And then we all get by in our own way, but we've got each other. And our own family units. Us here, we've got each other. Bobby Crush, I disagree. Own brand is good. They do many branded items for the brand tarts. One thing I'm not is a brand tart. If it tastes good, looks good, smells good, I'll use it, eat it, or drink it. I'm guessing this driver don't know on the midazolam then. What do you want about, Melvin P? Council rebate is not 150 when it's gone up, at least 60 quid this year. Absolutely, Pippa Neal. And again, as I said, they give with one hand and take with the other. Honesty and truth. I wonder if this poor woman has simply not gone into what she is entitled to. Age concern could help. Citizens' advice. You could have a point there, Anna, actually, because a lot of these people simply don't. They're either unaware of where to turn to, they had somebody else doing it for them, or they just can't simply face the procedure involved in, dealing with it. I know somebody that had to appeal for a benefit they're entitled to, and I think the appeal document was something like 12 pages long. It was designed just to batter you into oblivion. It was absolutely crazy nuts. Good evening, Andy, everyone. Late to the chat. Sorry, you're right, Daphne Lynch, you're here. That's the main thing. Bobby Crush, Iceland, low food is cheap and horrid. Bobby Crush, like the saying goes, any port in a storm. If it's what you've got to eat, when I was on my own and I went through a bit of a financial bad patch, I agree with you compared with a lot of stuff. But, Iceland, I thought tastes like shite. But if you want cheap, mass-produced, easy meals, microwave, burger, whatever, you can feed yourself there. And it served me well, served me the purpose at that point. But, we do all these and I think Tesco's now, but occasionally my missus sneaks into some of the more expensive shops and I have a heart attack. I think I need my blood pressure checked, actually. Why not have a law that energy companies cannot charge over the odds if people are not earning above a certain limit? I think that's very similar to means testing, isn't it, Stink Pooter, if that's what you're referring to? Uh, yeah, definitely. Neil Wilson, he is out of touch. And welcome to the chat, by the way. 9 months of customer service was offensive, and they put me in debt when offered to pay monthly. So loads and loads of things in here. Suzanne could give Elsie a couple of grand. There's probably loads of people that can help Elsie. 150 quid won't go for he is a twat. Yes, party. I'll show you something right now, shall I? This is only because I got me wallet in my skyrocket. Okay. Yeah, I don't usually carry this much cash, but let me see. 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 20, 40, 50. Right. That, my dear friends, is 150 socks. 150 quid. Years ago, this money went a long, long way. But let's have a look at this now, shall we? If I go to Gatwick tomorrow to pick somebody up, it's 40 quid gone in the diesel. If I want to buy a bit of lunch, a sandwich, a packet of crisps and a drink, it's goodbye to that. We're then left with 20, 40, 60, 80. There's 100 quid there left. So let's say my missus wants to go shopping to get some groceries. So 20, 40, 60 quid maybe. There's 40 left. My son may want something. It's 20. And let's see. Oh, I might need to put some money in the gas and electricity fund because you know how expensive that is. 20. I've just spent 150 quid in a matter of a few seconds. That's how easy and that's how fast money goes out these days. And as you said, Boris Johnson is out of touch. And I don't think he's the only one in that batch. I really don't. I think they're all out of touch and need a dose of reality. Now, I've just dropped a load of this all over the bloody floor. It's like throwing your money away. Let me just check. 100. Right. I got 225 quid there. And I can tell you now, pretty much every penny of that is accounted for. Again, it don't go very far. There'll be a driver to pay. There'll be a bill to pay. There'll be a household thing that needs doing. This 150 quid, you need to add another naught onto that. You need to get real, get with the program. We need more help than you're offering. It's nuts. Didn't you didn't you get the money tree on offer, Harry? Yeah. Well, there is a magic money tree depending on where you are, isn't there? You haven't put anything in the cola fund from that. No, that's right, Bridget. I haven't. Christine is sorry, I forgot that you live in a posh part of the country. Plant a money tree. I think we all need to plant a money tree, Alan Edge, don't we? Listen, folks, this is the daily chat with Andy the Gabby Cabby. We're getting on a bit of a rocking horse today about the state of the economy and the brain in between the ears of our politicians. It appears that they don't have a very big one going on. If you haven't done so already, can I ask you to hit the like button on the actual screen? Get the old algorithm talking about the Gabby Cabby just a little bit more than usual. And if you're new to the channel as well, please consider subscribing. That will be wonderful. If you're across other social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and all that, look us up, give us a like on there as well. We usually broadcast this live stream to Facebook, but tonight, just one night only, I've turned Facebook off because I want to try and get to the bottom of our issues with the sound. And I think that it's not a question of bandwidth. I think it's just a question of the sound and the echoey area and the software that I'm using here. And it actually says when you load StreamYard, try and use a decent pair of earbuds. Right, let's have a look at this one that I saw. We talk about elderly people. I was struck by this one. Neighbour confuses old trampoline for an elderly man unwell in the street. Now, to be fair, this picture does, from a distance, look like an elderly man unwell in the street. Let's see if I can show you, see what you think. Cop a load of that. What does that look like from a distance? Does it look like someone stooped over? Mm-hmm. It does, really, in my view. But yes, it's not an elderly person at all by any account. It's a trampoline. A man went to check on what he thought was a pensioner with a walking stick who could be unwell, only to find it was a trampoline. Damien Webster came out of his house in the morning and thought he saw another man leaning on a wall. He didn't think anything of it, but when he came out again later to his road in Sunderland, the man was still there. Royal Army worker Damien shouted over, then went over to check he was okay. Then he realised that he'd been concerned for a pile of metal and netting. To be fair, we can see where the mix-up come from. It did actually look pretty convincing from a distance. Damien said, I came out of the house at 5 a.m. to check if the car was frozen, and I saw the bloke leaning on a wall with a walking stick. I thought he must have been out of breath. Speaking of that, shut that door. I just came out the door now at 6:40 a.m. He's still there. I shouted, "You all right, mate?" and got no reply. So I walked down the road to check on him. And it's a smashed trampoline net hanging over a wall. Damien posted the photo on Facebook after he made the blunder last Thursday and has since received over 10,000 comments and 26,000 shares. Isn't it amazing how something like that can go viral? Many said they could understand why he thought the trampoline was in fact a human being. One man quipped, "I'm sure he'll bounce back." This is not the only instance of a trampoline being found in an unexpected place. Strong winds in 2020 led to a trampoline being blown onto a motorway in Ireland, with 2 lanes blocked and motorists forced to bypass the metal frame. I've even seen a shed balanced on a garden wall before now. It's absolutely crazy. I don't know if anyone else has seen any funny stuff. A bit like a money tree maybe planted down the bottom of the road. He bought 3 years' supply in what was going on. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, there's some more chat in there as well. Good chat. Thanks, everyone. He bought 3 years' supply. Yep. It's the settings on the software, Andy, as it was okay in Streamlabs and when you use YouTube. Yes, Mike Alligators, that's what I believe it is. Now, I think somewhere there's going to be something which controls how the microphone and the sound works. And I've just got to work it out, basically. In Streamlabs and YouTube, I wasn't using these things. And when I went to the normal phone microphone with this, that sounded crap as well. So we will get to the bottom of it, but I'll do some investigation, definitely. Andy the Gabby Cabby, the TDs in Ireland, your equivalent of MPs, are so out of touch, all changed their mobile numbers and are uncontactable. Well, there you go. They just want the job, but don't want the responsibility with it. And a lot of it's going on over here. I mean, that story about Boris, for example, I think just needs sharing wide everywhere. Yeah, the problem is if Boris goes and the Tories get crunched, who do we end up with? The ginger one in that Kia Cars Starmer person, whatever he is. Oh, Christ, we've been invaded by a dinghy diver. Gary, the dinghy diver, is in the house. Hello, Gary. Well, one of them had to sneak through the net, didn't they? It's all right. We won't send you to Rwanda because we know what you're all about. Melvin, 3 years worth. That's it. Cheers. Do I remember? Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Well, I put a story online earlier, one that I covered last night, about that incident in, well, we call it Sadiq's London. And so far, about 10,000 people have actually read it. So it's, or watched it. It's quite important, really. And another thing about justice, uh, which I was really sickened by today. Let me show you this picture. And it's got Kent Police on it on the mugshot. So it's fairly local to my vicinity. See this charming gentleman here? Well, he likes doing certain things to certain people of certain ages, similar to that young baby in the next picture there. Well, I will tell you all about it. That is Tony Smith. I'm not naming anybody I shouldn't. It's public record. It's in the press. Baby torturer could get compensation after being attacked in prison with tuna cans, of all things. So how can you attack somebody with a tuna can? Maybe take it and throw the collar. Oh. Anyway, 2 prisoners took a baby batterer hostage and attacked him with tuna tin-filled socks during a 2-hour. Oh, I got you. Get an old wet sock, fill it with tins of tuna, give him a good battering. Tony Smith, who abused his little boy so badly, both his legs had to be amputated. That's horrific. Was battered by 2 inmates at Swaleside Prison on the Isle of Sheppey in Kent. I know where that is. And I'm willing to bet because of that, the inmates probably found out what he's in there for, and they don't take kindly to anything involving kids. He could now be in line for taxpayer-funded compensation, as the prison service has an obligation to keep inmates safe at all times. Who do they? And at whose expense? Taxpayers? Michael Stewart and Nathan Oggers struck Smith repeatedly with their improvised coshes after tying him to his cell bed during the incident. The pair were initially unaware of their captive's identity and wicked crime. Oh, right, so they didn't know what he did. The 2 men had pushed Smith, then aged 47, into his single cell on August the 7th, 2018. So this happened quite a while ago. It's taken a while to get into the press, and told him to go along with their hostage plan being staged in protest of being the notorious Category B jail dubbed Stabside. And there's more. But it turned violent when fellow inmates shouted out who he was and why he was in jail. Stewart and Oggers, themselves victims of physical child abuse and neglect, then launched their brutal assault, which left the tins heavily dented, and Smith needing hospital treatment for multiple teeth fractures and bruising. 6 months earlier, he had been jailed for 10 years alongside girlfriend Jodie Simpson. I vaguely remember this. After they were convicted at the same court of inflicting numerous limb fractures to their young son, Tony, resulting in multiple organ failure and sepsis. So horrific were Tony's injuries, which also included a hip dislocation and head trauma, the youngster had to have surgery to amputate both legs at the knee. Stewart, 31, and Oggers, 36, both admitted false imprisonment and assault causing actual bodily harm. Prosecutor Jane Carpenter said it was just before 4:45 p.m. when Stewart and Oggers pounced on Smith, pushing him from behind and headfirst onto his bed as he returned to his cell from collecting his meal. He did not know the pair or had any issues with them, she added, and they had been placed on the same wing to await transfer to other prisons. With the cell door locking automatically behind them, they then held Smith down and used strips of his bedding to restrain him, telling him, "Do what we tell you to do and you'll be all right." A wardrobe was pushed across the door and the observation panel blocked with toilet paper as the pair demanded to speak to a governor. They then pulled out socks, waited with full tins of tuna, and began to hit Mr. Smith over the head and over the body, said Miss Carpenter. They were encouraging each other, saying, hit him harder, he deserves it, and cut his ear off. As officers tried to get into the cell and a governor and a negotiation team were called, they continued to hit and kick their hostage, the court heard. Some of the attack was captured on guards' body-worn camera, as well as sounds of violence and laughter, said Miss Carpenter. They discussed Mr. Smith's offence and said he should have his legs chopped off, she told the court. One said, I should chop this guy to pieces. He deserves that at the very least, obviously after having found out what he'd done. At one point, Smith complained he was being strangled, only for his captors to dismiss it as play fighting. Officers in riot gear eventually forced their way into the cell just before 7 p.m, and the men calmly surrendered, and Smith was still tied to his bed. The prosecutor said his face was extremely swollen and bruised. He was taken to hospital and found to have multiple dental fractures. And he goes on, so he's got a damn good kicking. They found out what he'd done, and they've obviously taken him to task over it. And he's denied being part of a planned stage hostage thing. And we'll just see if we can get to the bit about the possible taxpayer-funded payout has been slammed by the adoptive mum of Smith's now 7-year-old son, Tony. That's wonderful that he's got a loving home. Yeah, it doesn't look like there's an amount there, but the actual fact that he could get a payout off the taxpayer is absolutely egregious in my book. He's ended up in prison. They found out what he did. Did the tuna survive, Alan Edge asked? Well, by all accounts, it was a bit bruised and battered, a bit like him. But I think we're more concerned about the state of the fish than the actual person who got it. Make the punishment fit the crime. Again, that's the problem, isn't it? In this country, it doesn't. I do not quite understand your last 90% message, but I know what went on. I agree, too much compelling evidence for it not to be investigated. Hi, Adam Apple. Enjoyed the football match. Sent another one, black and white. Cheers, Julie. I'll check those out. Thank you. Lauren McKenzie. We in Shit Street then. Adam Apple, good to see you. Sorry, I missed you in the chat there. Honesty and truth. Can someone confirm that the Rwanda deal regarding unofficial people has collapsed? I'm unsure what's happened. Honesty and truth. I saw Alex Belfield do a video entitling something like Rwanda finished earlier. But I think basically they're taking the piss out of us, aren't they? We've got them all coming through again. So something's been said somewhere and we've not been told. That much is clear. 17 more likes to reach the 100, please. Yes, if you haven't done so already, folks, please hit that like button in the last couple of minutes and let's get us over the ton mark. Do you have Odyssey or BitChute, Rumble, or brand YouTube? No, I don't, Xena W. I did go on BitChute, but I never really progressed with it. I've thrown all my efforts into YouTube and getting this channel built up and everything else. Where else are we? Yes, I think we've about caught up with all the chat. Yes. Well, I'm going to say goodnight, folks. We're coming up to the hour. We managed to do a full set again. I'm not quite sure what's going to happen tomorrow because I'm at Luton, and the time of day that I end up there, it'll either be a slightly earlier live stream or a slightly later one. I've got to work out what's going on yet, but I will make sure I'm here. Julie, thank you so much for the t-shirt designs. If you haven't done so already, have a play in the early part of this video or go back and look at the Facebook page for Andy the Gabby Cabby and we will see what's going on there. As far as the dodgy sound goes, it's work in progress. I'm looking at different bits of technology where we can get that sorted out, and Meanwhile, thank you for all your support. Thank you for your likes, your comments, and all your contributions to the channel and the Gabby Cabby community. Thank you to the channel members, the subscribers, and everyone else that makes a positive difference to my life, everybody else's. So I will see you tomorrow with more content, a bit more news, reviews, and all the rest of it, and another live stream at some point. I'm now going down the off license because I want a few vodkas. Yes, so tomorrow it will be. And until then, toodaloo.